Everybody, it's Stan. My video today is going to be about my buddy Vince. Again, people ask me to do these case study things. If you have any suggestions or like to be part of this, let me know. I'd love to include more stories. I think people hearing different people's stories helps realize you're not alone, and there's a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences in how people get well with mercury toxicity. I'm redoing this video because the other one was scratchy, so hopefully this one sounds better. The audio's better. I don't know what was wrong, but I think I'm better now. Anyway, my disclaimer always, I am not a doctor. I'm just somebody that was mercury toxic, and I share experiences. I try to get people engaged in discussions here so we can pass along information that might be helpful to one another. I started this because there's just so much, I believe, bad information online. People are going to hurt each other spreading poor information. So my goal, as always, is to just try to open everybody's mind and try to find the true root cause of your problems. Okay, I use this story over and over and over, but I read people all the time. So I'll say, hey, did you get tested for heavy metals? Oh, yes, I did. My doctor said my levels are fine. Okay, I don't know what level could possibly be fine. Okay, if 10 is a safe level and you're 9.9, are you fine? Or 9.5 or 9.1 or 8.2? I think 0 is a good number, and my experience tells me 0 is the right number. The slightest amounts, even trace amounts, can be bad for people. I reacted to trace mercury that was in a fish oil supplement, which was shocking to me. Okay. So anyway, enough on that. Try to get to the root cause. Look into MTHFR. Another video the other day talked like 80% of the global population has this MTHFR. If you never heard of it or your doctor doesn't know what it is, it really makes you wonder what's going on, right? Make sure your detox pathways are open. What else did I have here? These are just reminders I put on every video so people can read through. You know, how mom transfers her toxicity to a baby. I know a lot of people that just think they're sick just because their mom had a lot of mercury in them. And they're having a very hard time getting well. IAOMT.org is a place you can go to and find dentists that practice safe amalgam removal. Just the fact that you have to have it done safely, which should make you wonder why, you know what I mean? Anyway, let's talk about my buddy Vince, good friend of mine, who sadly passed, I believe, related to mercury. So I worked with Vince at a local chemical factory back in the 80s, along with my dad, who I also did a case study on. Vince is about 7 years older than me, so he had 7 more years of exposure of mercury at work. At that time when I met him, he already had several disease diagnoses. He was only about around 30 at the time. One I recall was Raynaud's, which is a circulation problem to your extremities, and it's definitely related to mercury. He also was diagnosed with lupus. He was also very ADHD. Okay, so think about that. I see tons of videos lately about ADHD and no one talking about mercury. So I know people that got poisoned from mercury just from eating too much tuna fish. So kids out there eating tuna fish, you know, they're showing ADHD symptoms. I wonder why. So anyway, I was also exposed at that location and was very sick for about 3 months. I'll talk about my story another day. So we'll see how this might connect. Many people there were sick. About 20 years later, Vince got a job at another factory where I was working at the time. He was having various health issues, mostly chronic fatigue, a lot of gut issues, mental and emotional issues, dozens of symptoms. He just felt horrible all the time, kind of like me. So one day Vince was in a lot of pain in his gut, and he left the plant. He went right to the emergency room. They did a lot of tests on him, but they found nothing. A doctor there said he had to open him up to find out why the pain. He couldn't leave him like that. He had to get to the bottom of it. Again, a root cause, right? Thankfully he did that because he found that his colon essentially had like no blood supply to it. They blamed that on lupus at the time. And literally his colon was like decaying inside of him. You can imagine the pain and just how horrible that is. So they were luckily to remove the bad part. Fortunately, he didn't need a bag. He never went back to work from that. He just stayed out of work. So I was at the time searching for answers to my health issues, which were also chronic fatigue related, joints, no energy, all that stuff, headaches, migraines, ocular migraines. So my ex-wife at the time, thank God, was helping looking around, and she went to this health store. Again, back then, there's only one health store in the area. Now they're all over the place, and um, all kinds of online health stores selling supplements. We wondered back then, why do we need these health stores? But anyway, they're there. She asked if anyone knew anybody about this kind of stuff, and they said, well, there's this doctor who treats people who, when no one else seems to be able to help, and he was like it's like a mad scientist, they said. Like, he looks like a mad professor, which he kind of did. He's a very nice guy, but he was very, very extravagant, I guess the word, and very out there, but he knew his stuff. I was very desperate, so I'd go to anybody at the time. I could hardly get out of bed, and I'm like 42 years old. Like, what the hell? I got a family. What am I going to do? There's no way to... Who's going to support me? Who's going to pay the bills, you know? It's unfortunate, the worries we all have when we're sick like this. So this doctor was giving chelation by intravenous to mostly people there had heart issues, who could not tolerate bypass surgery. And he was using this concoction to clean their arteries, which was working. And you know, nowadays you read about that today, that people could even take supplements for that kind of stuff. So he was way ahead of his time. This is 25 or so years ago. He suspected mercury for me simply from my amalgams, because I had 10 of them, and I had the symptoms. So he gave me an IV challenge test. A lot of people do not recommend that now. Back then I had no idea. I just was desperate, so I did it. It was the first time in about 20 years that I felt okay. My energy, my constant cough that I had, it all got better for about 3 days after the IV. He gave me the IV and, plus vitamins B and C. I ended up doing 3 of these challenge type tests or IVs, but I stopped because I had swollen lips, like a reaction, and they heard about it and they said, no, you got to stop. So I did. Many now say that IV chelation is not a good idea, and I do agree with that, because it pushes too much around too fast, which we call redistribution. I know some people listening will say, yeah, but I did it and it cured me, and my friend did it, cured them, I agree. It is a very fast response, but I will just say to you, and I pray you are good forever, but ask those same people in 5 years, 10 years, 15, even 20, are they still okay? For me, 20 years later, I still had symptoms, and they were actually worse than ever. One thing that can happen when you're forcing stuff around is your body sees it and has to try to protect itself. So it stores it into your system in different places, in your bones, in your fat. It actually makes you fat if you're not fat, so that it can store it and not store it in organs and not damage organs. So when that happens, and then later on, so many years later, your body might see an opportunity to get rid of some of that, and it'll start putting it back in your system, and now you got symptoms again. And again, these are the same people that swore by IV chelation, maybe. You know what I mean? So just keep all that in mind. Be careful what you do. Everything has a consequences, maybe, when you're dealing with this, because you don't know the long-term results. There's no experts, okay? My challenge test came back with 11 or so metals in me, basically everything that I was ever exposed to at work. So getting back to my buddy Vince, I told him, I said, Vince, you got to get tested, because, you know, I got tested, I found this. If you get tested, you find the same thing, then guess what? We must have got this problem at our work. Again, back then we weren't sure. We're still wondering. I mean, I literally at one point thought somebody was poisoning me. You know, like, how did I get poisoned? This makes no sense. So, again, we figured if he had the mercury, then we were both exposed at work 20 years earlier. This is how we connect the dots and sort through this and create our own proof or science. Okay, a lot of people say, give me the link to your science and stuff. Well, we are the science. We are the experiment. We all could write books about our situations, and I'm just kind of trying to share that here, maybe to help people and make a connection, like, wow, that sounds just like me. So his chelation test also showed mercury, and yes, it also made him feel good. He had other metals in him, just like me, everything we were exposed to at work. Sadly, he could not keep up the treatments because they started to make him not feel good. He was already too sick to tolerate any kind of chelation. So he kept active as he could, but he kept getting sicker with pneumonia and other issues. One time he was in a hospital, his heart stopped. They resuscitated him, installed a pacemaker, jump starter in his, so if his heart stops again, it'll automatically restart. Thank God he was in a hospital when it happened the first time. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened. Again, this is mercury-related stuff. I had an abnormal EKG for a while, which my doctor was very concerned about, and it got better. Now, how did it get better? All I did is detox. I removed my amalgams and I detoxed. Another buddy who I met online and is also mercury toxic, he found a cardiologist online who says all the hearts that need to be replaced that he has personally worked on, he connected to mercury at one point, and he did testing, and he says he finds that they all have mercury in them. So these people needing heart transplants, majority of them, I'll say, seem to be from mercury exposure, which is really, really, really sad. So think about all the people with heart troubles, AFib and all that stuff. In my opinion, I don't think you just get those things for no reason. It's because something gets to your heart, and it could very likely be heavy metals and toxins. So going back to Vince, after about 15 years of being in and out of hospitals, he unfortunately passed away. I don't want to say he gave up, but I know when I talked to him, he was just worn out, beat up from this. It just, he did a lot of great things with his family or for his family, building a house, helping his daughter, helping his son, all these different things. And then I think he finally got to where, what else can he do? And he struggled doing all that work too. So the question is, what did he die from? I'll let you all decide. He had dozens of diseases. I personally know that when you detox mercury, you reverse diseases. You can reverse diseases. So, what was the real root cause? Many people at that factory were sick and died early in their 50s. The union president at the time fought for awareness and truth. He simply said something is wrong here. That's all he was saying to management. And he was eventually fired. Never found a similar job locally after. Was he blackballed? In talking to him some 20-some years later when I needed his help, that's the feeling I got, because there's no other reason. So Vince and I did go to a workers' comp claim. That's where we called on our former union president. We had a lot of people witnesses. We didn't want money. We just wanted coverage. So if we got older, couldn't work, and mercury really took its toll on us, we'd have some way to survive. We won that case. We lost it back and forth for 4 years, and finally we both had to walk away from it because the lawyers were shocked at how much it was costing. And they said, you guys got to start helping. We need money from you. How much? They said $10,000 to start. I said, well, I'm in the middle of a divorce. I can't do that. I'm going to have to walk away from this. So I did. And then Vince kept it going for about another year. He had to walk away too. I don't know if he ever got anything out of it, but it's just a shame people should have to suffer and struggle through this that way, and then on top of it have to worry about their family and finances. The factory back then would blood test people, and if your blood level was high, they'd move you out of the area for like 3 weeks until your levels dropped. Well, we all know that blood test is not the way to test. Okay. And my God, any level can harm somebody, okay? They still use this moronic thinking, and I believe OSHA stands beside it, which makes no sense. All I can tell you, anybody, OSHA, management, and all these companies can very easily do a little bit of research and find out that blood work is not the way to test. A hair test or something along those lines will show what's stored in people. Low levels, trace levels can be as harmful as somebody that's acutely toxic. Anyway, that's all I got on my buddy Vince. Vince, I miss you. I wish could have done more for everybody. I know you're in a better place, and folks listening to this, if you got something you want to talk about like this, please like and comment. Please share information. That's how we all learn. And hopefully someday the system will wake up and do what's right for everybody that's been damaged and that are hurting right now. All right, take care.